Let the bass kick.
So tell me, how many hundreds of thousands of views are we going to get here? We on that Joe Rogan level?
Oh, Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Actually, we've had Gary Rogan on. He's Joe's brother.
We did have a Rogan.
It's almost the
show.
same.
Yeah.
It almost counts.
Basically the same.
Almost.
It's pretty close.
Should I just talk about DMT half the time we're here?
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well.
Exactly. Whatever topics you want to.
Whatever comes up. Look, hey, we made. Hey, dude.
Broach.
I'm gonna pick your. You can pick your friends. You can pick your nose. You can't pick your friend's nose. But
You're in
look,
my space, bro.
right past Dr. Hoyt, and then up. There's a Last Cash drumhead right there. That's pretty.
Oh,
cool.
and it
Are you recording?
goes with his shirt.
No,
That's a definitely yes.
Definitely, yes.
I hit the big red button. I did that. Nobody saw it coming.
Nope.
You're welcome.
You never let us know.
You're welcome, America.
Look at it. Look at it out of focus, because if it focuses in, it's still out of focus because Lyndon used a JPEG off the internet. And
Hey, this is why we asked for vector files, guys.
vector file. Vector file.
I didn't think they were important, but now I see.
You see what happens?
Yes, I see.
You see what happens? You're learning.
Every day.
Every day learning something new. What up? Wet it with.
What?
Everybody does that. Like, if I look at the camera,
Yeah,
I guess this means I need to look at the camera more because nobody expects me to look at the camera. Because every time I look at the camera, everybody looks behind them.
I thought Uber Eats was here for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Kevin.
Oh, man.
Hey,
Why
Kevin-
are you going to talk about food?
Kevin and Ruthie clearly expected food. So somebody get on that.
Help, send food.
What is your order from Uber Eats?
Our market stock for this podcast is going down the drain by the minute. Yeah, what up?
Pineapple on pizza? That's what I'd get from Uber Eats.
Ew.
We are not doing that this early in the show.
Yeah.
Welcome. What up? Welcome to the podcast. This is episode 44, I think.
Ooh, I'm going to be 44 this
That's what
year.
it says right there.
Ooh.
Oh, dude, thank God.
Yeah.
I was like, man, what if it's 45? But no, we're hanging in there. It's been a rough couple days. Numbers are rough right now, but that's why I've got a studio full of people to help keep me straight.
Yeah.
And we're here with episode 44, and I am Will McCaskill. Who are you?
I'm Dr. Hoy, and I'm listening.
He's listening.
I gotta pause.
Ruthie is Ruthie.
Yeah.
She's TD extraordinaire, got 1 million sponsors,
No, I
bosses me around all the time. She's been driving me around all day because of some
Yes.
other crazy crap that we'll get into later on in the show. And I don't know how we ended up in this room together while we're doing this right now, but this is all bets are off.
Yeah.
This is gonna get entertaining.
There's one other person in the room, too.
There is one last person that I have built the suspense intentionally. So, because this is a special one for me. When I first got into disc golf in the Nashville area, it was probably about 2012, 2013. And the gentleman that is joining us in the Sapphire Lounge tonight was very much a part of the disc golf community in Nashville at that point. And I remember him being a part of that crowd. And just recently, over the last year, this gentleman right here has been making a comeback. And we have all sorts of stuff that we could say to add to his...
Don't call it a
comeback.
He's been here for years, folks.
Anyway, without further ado, our friend Kevin Rarick, Golf Snaps.
Yeah.
Golf snaps.
Golf Snaps for Kevin
This is
Rarick.
fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Dude,
This is sweet.
you just won the bag tag.
What?
You just took everybody's money.
Yeah.
Everybody's all salty about it too.
Barely, though.
Yeah, that was
Barely.
That's even better when it's...
Look, this last bag tag was at Sanders Ferry, E7. Thanks to everybody for coming out. And now we know a little bit more about where to park and where not to park.
More importantly than the scores.
Yeah, exactly. The cop came out. He's like, "Yeah, we've been getting some complaints because the boats coming through there. They need the full lane so they don't scrape everybody's car going down there." So it's a learning process.
So it worked out.
But on Sanders Ferry, Logan Bauer signs up, and he sends me a message, and he says, "I need some competition." And so he's like, "I need to be competing with somebody right now," and he's like, "Put me on a card with Kevin Rarick, Harper Thompson, and Justin Bonnell." And I don't think Justin was there.
Justin was not there.
So I forgot who the fourth member of the card was, but you guys, I would have been interested to see what was going on in that card. Was it just kind of everybody's?
So I was on the card behind those guys.
Oh,
They were ahead of me.
Oh.
come
Yeah.
on, Robert, you can't make the feature card. Just kidding.
Yeah, I was right
Oh
behind.
yeah,
those
Logan
guys.
was like not Kevin Rarick. Sorry.
That sounds about right.
It's like I want him a card behind me so I can watch what I'm doing. You disc live scoring.
Man, I kind of went unconscious out there, and it's funny. I came up on hole 18, and they had him and Harper are both 15 under,
Yeah.
and I'm 16 under, and I forget who threw right in front of me, Road OB, and I'm thinking. So now that's in my head. I'm thinking, okay, I've birdied almost everything. I want to go for this, but also I don't want to blow it. That would be a little embarrassing. They're literally sitting like 50 feet behind the basket on the bench, just like
Oh yeah, I know that look.
waiting for it. So that mess. So I mean, I threw my disc out into the field, out into the left. I said, I'm not throwing into that road. No way. And I had a chance at 17 under, which would have been a personal best for sure, but had to settle with a 16, and still only won by a stroke. So barely.
He was 16 under at 41. That's pretty impressive. Anything under 45, I mean, anything under 50, let's face it, that's a really good score no matter what you're playing. And 41, and then 2 at 42, Logan and Harper looking up. So
I couldn't believe it.
That was exciting.
I couldn't believe it. I didn't look at the scores through like hole 15. I just thought, I've birdied everything. I think I've walked away with it. You know, I'm comfortable. And then I look at the scores and I was like, you have got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And then I started to feel pressure. I was like, man,
Yeah.
I was about to maybe have a perfect round because I'm 14 under through 14. And then I step up on hole 15, the little guy across the water.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry about that little guy.
That little guy, and then I throw it 40 feet away from the basket left.
Right.
Like, what am I doing?
You're like, yeah, that's like, it's right there. Something about that water and the wind. I don't know. There's something.
I don't know what I did.
I mean, it's the layout too. It's the design of the holes. I mean, that first water hole is it 14, 13?
14.
14 is the
14's
first
the
water hole,
crossing.
the long
So
one.
it's like the inlet comes across.
Yeah. Hey.
I am just smacking the shit out of here, Mike. I'm glad I put that profanity.
I'll be your
in.
emotional punching
Yeah.
bag, but not your physical one.
Hey, Dr. Hoy, why don't you take Marcus's chair? No, but I mean that hole gets in your head because it's a weird angle. Like the water is 200 feet across from where the tee pad is, but the basket is another 200 feet that way. So
Gotta commit.
it's easy to make it across the water one time, but if you do it too close and if you play it too straight, well, then you're in just as much danger of throwing into the water on your second shot because it's riding the right side all the way down to the pin.
Yep.
And I think that is just, I mean, that's one of the things that makes Sanders Ferry great is that like none of those holes are outright impossible or unscorable. Okay. It's just you gotta play strategically. You gotta play golf.
Yep.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I
But wait, there's more.
right. What's your PDGA number, Kevin? 27063.
27063.
So that in and of itself says you've been playing disc golf. You've been about that life for quite some
I've
time.
been about that life since I was 6 years old.
Okay.
Yep.
So your parents played.
Little guy. Yep.
disc sports or frisbee family type folks? Or basically, I'm setting you up to tell the audience how disc golf found you, where you grew up, how it all happened.
Yeah. That's an easy one because I love talking about it. We were in Lexington, Kentucky, and it really started out.
Go Cats!
I think it really started out as just something to do as a family. My parents and my uncle and aunt would take us out to Shiloh Park, just a really small like city park, birdie course. I think I was walking around with a shark or something, DX shark.
Shout out to Justin Martineau. He loves the shark. His logo.
I've heard this. I have heard this.
He's got a whole bag full of them.
Yes.
Well, I've got one from the early 90s in my shed that's broken, but it's still there. Anyway, I mean, that was my first exposure to it. It was off and on throughout my life. But the thing is, we lived on this 365-acre campground in Bowling Green, Kentucky for most of my childhood.
Wow.
And I was homeschooled.
Some guys have all the luck.
Homeschooled. Tons of free time, lots of land. Like, I had a lot of time. So I ended up getting very good at this very niche thing, which, a lot of my friends and how people are, they're like, disc golf. Yeah. They're just like, how do you become a professional disc golfer? It's like, well, homeschool. It just kind of all added up. I had a lot of time.
Yeah. Campsite, homeschool.
It's like disc golf.
Time.
Okay, so you were homeschooled and you smoke a lot of weed.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean,
pineapple. No.
Wah, wah.
Where'd it go? There.
It's gone.
There it is.
Pineapple.
Just kidding.
So yeah, I had the time for it. I there was some folks.
Camera guys, not pointing at you or passing. Oh, we're having too much fun. Keep going, Kevin.
But where it really turned for me is when I got my driver's license. I just wanted a freaking excuse to drive. You remember that feeling? Is like, okay, I can do this now. Where should I go?
Yeah, my first trip was to return a video at Blockbuster just because I'm like, I can do this now.
Will you please just give me 15 minutes of freedom? I'm going to go 1 mile to the Blockbuster and turn the video back in.
I felt like, you feel responsible.
Or was it like Twisted Metal 2? You had rented Twisted Metal 2 for the original PlayStation, and you were like, yeah. And you already had $15 of late fees on it. Your parents found it underneath the couch cushion.
Crash Bandicoot.
Oh, man. That's my jam. Spent some time on that too.
Yeah. Anyway,
but
back to Kevin.
So you got your license. I
got my license, and I got in the car. We're living in Bowling Green. I went straight to Lover's Lane, and then Kariakis, and I just spent being homeschooled. I was kind of in control of my destiny every day. I'd be done with school at 10, 11 in the morning, and then go play disc golf all day, and I'd play until dark. And so naturally, you're gonna get better. And so it's funny. It's like I'm used to being the kid. Like there were no young people playing disc golf at that time. I'm just surrounded by like these older dudes, and my parents are like, "What are we letting our child do?" Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like your parents are either very concerned or they don't give a shit.
I think they were very concerned, and I also probably drove them nuts at times. So it's probably good for me.
Let me go. I'm going. They say no, and then like you're not there anymore, and they're like, "Where's Cat?" He's at the.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, it snowballed from there. I think I signed up for the PDJ in 2005 or something like that. Yep. I played some junior stuff, but I was really drawn to the idea of being a professional. I did play advanced for a while, but I didn't spend much time in it. I didn't win very much. A lot of people are like, "Ooh, you got to come up through the ranks, sort of learn what it feels like to win, and then you make your move." I was like, "I'm just gonna go get destroyed, and then I'll get better." And so I started playing professionally. I think in like 2006, and just kept going from there. So.
I know if you guys, any of you internet sleuths out there that care to go back into the time machine on Facebook, back to the early days of Facebook and disc golf in Nashville, there's this weird double-edged sword that happened where the advent of social media brought about just almost the ruin of the disc golf community in Nashville. But at the same time, there was a brief window there where there was some gold happening. Like, there's a lot of pictures out there of you and Shoestrick and Macbeth and like back in 2009 to like say 2012 when Music City Disc Golf in its current iteration was founded. There's a lot of tournaments that happened in that window where you and some of the biggest names in the game right now were right there neck and neck.
It's wild.
Mixing it up.
It's wild. Like, I turn on Jomez, and I'm sitting there listening to dudes that I was buddies with a decade ago.
Right, your boys.
and so it's a weird feeling. It's like, it feels like that relationship has continued, but really I haven't talked to those guys in 10 years or so.
It wasn't one of those tournaments at Sanders Ferry?
Yeah.
Like some of those...
Yep, some of that happened out there. So, yeah, I mean, I owe a lot of sort of how I progressed to Will Shoestrick. I mean, we spent a ton of time together when he's a little bit younger than me. When he was living in Knoxville and he wanted to come stay in Nashville, we put him up. I mean, he'd come stay at our apartment for a week or two at a time, and then quickly he became what he was. You know, he won USDGC at like 18 years old, and then all of a sudden he's the world number one. Yeah, and I'm kind of in his shadow for a while, but that afforded me a lot of opportunities. I got to go to Vibram and Beaver State Fling. I got into USDGC a few times, played some Worlds, so I got a Memorial. Like a lot of that was just kind of going with Will, and that was super fun. That definitely like exposed me to that world and got me into those relationships with some of those dudes who are now like celebrities. It's a totally different thing.
Yeah, and you, interestingly enough, I mean, over the last year and a half, 2 years, and I know, like, obviously I was aware of who you were, and to see your name start showing up on registration lists again, for me, was something that was super exciting.
Yeah.
And like me and a couple of the board members that have been around for a while, like Dr. Hoy is newer to the board. He's been around for the last 2-3 years, but like when your name started showing up, I know like me and Danielle and Jay, like we were immediately like, holy potatoes.
What's he doing?
Kevin Rarick is back. And then Ketley started signing up for stuff.
Yes.
Yep.
And so, I mean, this is how life goes. You guys got married, started having crotch goblins, and you've got your own little brood happening. So, you know,
in my world, that's a totally different terminology.
That term needs a lot of context.
Yeah, exactly.
Children.
Oh my God!
He had kids.
There was this really
Offspring.
I'm so glad they put up the profanity. So no, there was this whole joke that happened at Shelby on Saturday while we were rebuilding the bridge. It was like something about, Dr. Hoy is real familiar with all the diseases that happen when you fornicate or whatever, because he's a pediatrician, infectious disease specialist. And then it popped into my head. I was like, and the worst disease you can get is kids. Because you got to pay for it for the rest of your life. There's no cure. You just got to keep treating it.
I didn't know we were going down this pathway.
I mean, it was just a brief aside. We're going right back to Kev, I promise.
Construction site talk.
No, but this was like, it was a really exciting thing for me to see you and Ketley coming back. And I've often said this, that the times when I feel most validated in all the time that I've given away in the last 5 years are the times when the people that I look up to show up for the stuff that we do.
Cool.
You know, like when Folger and Hardy and like the people that have been around forever, when they show up. So when I started seeing your name, I mean, the first time, and then it was like second, third, fourth time, I was like, oh my, this is working. Like, because as much as any of us need disc golf, especially once we've encountered it and made it a part of our lives, like our disc golf community, in my opinion, needs Kevin Rarick. It needs you and Ketley. You know what I mean? You're awesome. A part of our history.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that.
And having you guys back, it means more to me than I can really tell you.
That's awesome.
And to see you guys coming back, and then it just like the momentum has came, like you're signing up for more and more stuff. You're playing better and better and better. And then to see you get that win, and I wanted to be there for all kinds of reasons, because it was the first time we've had Sanders Ferry in rotation for a while. And, but you know, disc golf never sleeps. And when you live behind the table, you move around a little bit. But dude, hearing from Dr. Hoy at the end of that day that you had taken home the dub, like I was like, man,
there was,
and it's right on the tail end of like us. And I will point this right back at you, but like Steve Hardy, like bringing him onto the event staff for Music City Open. I've been in this really like intense emotional state of seeing everything come full circle and seeing like us get these, like the people that were here for the very beginnings and the installation of our foundation as a community, and now they're all coming back. Like that is the most rewarding thing.
Yeah.
That's all you, bud.
Well, I was going to say there was another win of a bag tag where you showed out.
Did I win another one?
I forget how many events.
Oh, yeah.
Cedar Hill Bag Tag Championships last year.
Oh, yep.
That was a good day.
We did not, we could not play at Shelby Golf Course, the temporary course, and we had to have one guy play on the Saturday, which were much different conditions.
I remember that.
It was not windy at all. It was sunny.
Oh boy, here we go. We got plenty to talk about, you guys. This is awesome.
And he was 10 down in MPO. Mm-hmm. And he was the only MPO that played, only pro that played that day. And then the next day, it was really windy.
Terrible.
It was very windy.
It was like November.
And there's just a 10 down at the top of the board, like
10 down starting the day. And I believe you shot a 12 or
I think
13,
it was something like that. Yeah.
And we all came back, and I remember watching Harper on a putt at like 15 or 14, and it just like flittered away. And I was like, and he just like has this look in his face, like, I don't even know. Like, how just win. And then we see Kevin score, and we're like, nobody's beating this 10 down. Everybody's like, oh man, this guy 10 down. He shot in the sunshine.
Even I felt that way too.
Yeah. And then he comes in with a 12 down, and I'm like, where did you play? Like, what course? What were you putting with? Destroyers? Like, it was crazy. And I was like, man, who is this guy?
Just found the good spots that day. I don't even remember how that all went down, but. That usually the good ones. That's how it goes.
Yeah,
like they don't. At least for me, like on Sunday or maybe the previous, whatever it was at Saunders, 16 under. I've done that 2 or 3 times ever.
Wow!
And every time I've done something like that, it doesn't feel like much. Right. Like that, you're not working. Like when disc golf is going well, when it's clicking, when you're landing in the right spot, and when the putt feels good. I mean it's weird. It's like, you know, it's not like you're out there grinding.
I feel like I've heard that in a lot of people's best rounds. There was a guy, Alan Farmer, that shot his first 1,000 rated round this year. Woo-hoo. And he said he just got close and it was no work. He wasn't having to work it. And at the end, he's like, I think I did okay. And then he's like, somebody was like, dude, your round's 1,000 rated when they like finished the scorecard. He's like, oh, I didn't even feel like that.
That's an interesting thing to talk about, because I know from talking to people at clinics that I participate in, it's like when people that are really new to the sport that have really been consuming a lot of YouTube videos and tutorial videos and stuff like that, they say, man, it just doesn't seem like they're doing anything. And then it goes 500 feet. I'm like, yeah, when you do it right, it looks like the easiest thing in the world to anybody that's watching. And it's one of those weird things where like you want to say that slow is smooth, smooth is far. And that's really a very simple mantra. But man, it's so true. And like you have to put some time in before it really makes sense to you. But like the form of it, when you have the actual mechanics, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Like so many people are muscling stuff. Me included. I'm a much better coach than a player. I'm not saying like do as I say, not as I do. But that's a thing, and I think people that have been playing since, like, this is one of the many reasons why I say, like, disc golf in Nashville needs Kevin Rarick, is because it's people like you and Steve Hardy and these people that you can watch you guys go out and play around, and it seems effortless. It's a
Definitely
natural
Steve.
motion, and that's, I mean, it's one of those things like the Steve Hardy-isms where everything seems so simple when Steve explains it to you, but it's seeing that smooth, effortless motion and that kind of thing. Really, knowledge of the disc, and I mean, there's really no way for me to explain it in terms that are translatable on a podcast. But it's
same. Yeah,
it's a knowledge that you gain over time, and you feel it when you do it by accident. You're like, oh, I get it. I'm gonna do it again. Nope. Like,
yep.
Well, yeah, you have some that you don't turn over. Maybe it's a stable, understable, and then you really turn it over, and you're actually like, that was a regular shot. That was like. Then you try it again with like a more stable distance, and it just hyzers out, and you're like, that wasn't the same. Like, then you try harder on that next one, you're like, no, you should have just thrown it the same for that. And I think that's one of the things also about the competition level in Nashville over the past 12 months. I mean, it's always been good. We've had a good local scene, but because I know Bunnell is coming back, and
it's on the
like
up.
Harper is stepping up. Logan's here. Telly, it's a lot of these.
I just played with Harper
Mikey,
in
Herod.
Hopkinsville.
Yeah,
dude, he shredded.
Dude, he's on the Slaughter Everybody 2021 tour.
Confidently hit the disc off of every tee, made a bunch of jump putts. I was just like, man, disc golf, like you said, competition in Nashville. And back 10 years ago, when I felt like I was kind of the guy around here, I felt supremely confident. And then you know what confidence does for you in disc golf.
Yeah,
that's really what kind of got me into starting to win some events and stuff like that. Now it's a different puzzle. It's a different problem to solve. I mean, you obviously don't want to focus on everyone else around you. You want to focus on what you're doing only. But I mean, if you go out and Logan and Harper are going to shoot 15, you got to shoot 16 to win.
Yeah, that was.
I mean,
I was like, wow,
it's a different game. Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah, and
pushes you.
That begs the question. So, what was? I mean, obviously, real life stuff is what precipitated your exit from disc golf. You and Ketley, and so give us a little bit, paint a picture for us of what kind of things changed in life and in disc golf that brought your awareness back to the sport and brought about a desire to come back to it.
Yeah. So in 2013, at the beginning of the year, I had some serious ambitions for disc golf. I went to the Memorial in the spring and cashed. I think I got 20-something, 25th or something like that. So I you go to an event like that and you cash amongst who you're playing with. It's such a confidence boost. I also just got a new job, and I'm working with all these guys in this office who are all runners and cyclists. And I thought, I'm just so competitive. They're all going out at lunchtime, like racing each other. And I'm like, all right,
screw you guys.
This sounds very, very different than my office.
Well, I'm like, okay, I can beat these guys. So I start riding a bike every day, and then I get obsessed with that. And I'm like, okay, how do I find the balance of trying to be a bike racer and a pro disc golfer? I'll figure it out. Well, I go do my first bike race, like my first official bike race, the Tennessee State Championships in June of that year. I make it 6 miles into the race. We're going down this descent, about to take this left hand, and I'm going 42 miles an hour, and the guy behind me just takes out my back wheel, and I go sliding down. I mean, long story short, I left that race in an ambulance, and I broke my right arm in 2 different places.
What a dick.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
He didn't have a little bell that he's like, ding, 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 right behind
There
him.
are, there are no bells
Everybody
out
out
there.
there
bells.
riding bikes. You need to play disc golf. Say, we're much cooler over here.
So that made the decision. I mean, it wasn't much of a decision. I couldn't throw a disc for a very long time comfortably. After that, I broke some small bones in my wrist. I couldn't putt comfortably, let alone throw a drive out of my hand. So I just sort of stepped away from it at that time, just because if I'm not going to be able to compete at the level that I was at, it just I wasn't interested. I was just, at that time I was young. I had that ego. I was just this competitor, and I just wanted to be the best. And so I went all in on bike racing, and I did that for years and years. And that kind of came to a head in like 2018, 2019. I was so over it. I was so burnt out. It's like having another job. I was riding 15 hours a week. I had a coach. If I didn't turn in a certain workout up to a certain standard, they'd have something to say about it. I'm just like, I don't need that stress in my life on top of being a dad and having a job and doing all this other stuff. Like, my hobby needs to be a little bit more fun. And so I thought, you know what? Disc golf is, even if I go out and I can't compete with anybody, at least I'm walking around in the woods. I'm not going to leave in an ambulance, hopefully, probably.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. And so that's what started it. Like, I got to have a competitive outlet. I'm still that way. I'm not as competitive as I used to be, but I just got to have some sort of outlet.
Somewhere there's a guy at your office. Man, this guy's always talking about disc golf. I'm not going to beat him. I know I can beat him. He's like a young guy that's starting in your office, and then you're going to be like, all right, kid.
Well, funny story, Blake Waldron from out in Murfreesboro, 1,000 rated guy, great player, prodigy. He's
golf snaps for Blake.
He's now working at my office as well. And so
I guess it's only a matter of time before he's on the podcast.
The office party.
Get him
disc
out.
golf again? Like every time.
Yep. So he started a couple months ago. So we're working together now.
Awesome.
And,
Wow.
So was there a moment that happened where you was there something specific that occurred where you're in your mind you were like, man, I should be in the mix with these guys. Like,
I should start taking this seriously.
Compete. I can still this is still an option. Was there something specific that kind of triggered that for you, or was it just kind of a frog in boiling water kind of scenario?
Yeah, maybe the latter. I don't know. My first several sanctioned rounds back were a real struggle. I mean, I was and it was a real mental struggle.
Oh, I watched your scores.
It was bad, dude.
I had a couple rough ones.
I started the music. I started the Music City Open last year, hole 1 at Cedar Hill. I have 3'd that hole pretty much every time I've played it in competition. I've almost been able to turn my brain off and just smack the destroyer up over the trees, toss the putter under it, and move to hole 2. I 6'd that thing to start the Music City Open last year after just putting all over the place, and I was like, okay, here we go. So now I have a puzzle to solve, and it's more of a puzzle than I thought it was going to be. So for me, it was probably, if I'm to point to a moment, it was probably the Music City Open last year. I'd played some little stuff kind of before and after, but I'm like, I feel it. It's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mess right now, but I can figure this out. I can start to build. So it was just
1 year later.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. I mean,
So the MCO just happens to, I don't know, trigger things or influence.
well, Ruthie, that was a big
Yeah.
tilt the microphone down so you can see it, so it points at your mouth. There you go. You can tighten up the knobs on either side.
These little guys?
Yep, these little guys right there. Just make sure the end of it's pointed at your mouth. But I want to hear, because I know Ruthie and I met in 2017 at the Nashville Nissan Stadium Disc Golf Experience.
Yes.
That Dynamic Disc put on.
Which I would love Another one to come.
In fact, the hat that she is wearing right now, I sold to her while I was manning J Ray's RV on the concourse at Nissan Stadium.
Yes. Wow.
And she was very opposed to disc golf leading up to that.
Yes.
Her husband, Jamie.
I hated it.
Yeah, her husband, Jamie, had a history in the sport.
Hated it.
And, well, look at you now.
I hate how much I love it.
Yeah. So continue on with that point that you were just finding that.
Well, just that. So 2020 MCO for you. Mm-hmm. It would be, for me, it would be 2019 MCO, where I came to drop off family members to compete at the different courses. You know, you watch a little bit here and there, and just the light bulb went off that, disc golf is not just this dumb recreational sport. You know, it has organization, it has tournaments, and so ever since that August, I was like, let's go practice, let's go play. And
yeah, there's a new dynamic with that did not exist when I was playing those bigger events. The professionals at the highest level are paying attention to everything, what they're eating, they're exercising.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't a thing back then. It was just, you know,
Eat whatever.
a bunch of bros traveling around, being friends,
Yeah.
drive-throughs, whatever. Now people, like Ricky's taking cold, ice baths and stuff. That was not a thing back in 2010 or 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
right.
a natural part of the evolution into a fully accepted, legitimized mainstream sport, though. Like, to me, it was interesting when Disc Golf Strong came around. It was like, it was one of those moments. It was like, how have we been existing as a sport without this being a part of the equation for this long? And then now so many of those things happen all the time. It's like, how is this just now becoming a thing? And it's, there's equal parts growing pains, like, to be sure, but to see that going on. So, is that a part of your recent success? I mean, like, your scores, you've been dropping strokes every tournament you play since you came back. And are you doing anything specific that you could point to for the audience that is giving you an edge?
Yeah, I think the past several years of bike racing have really helped me just stay fit. That's been pretty positive. I feel like I have a pretty good amount of endurance when the rounds start to get long and it's crazy hot here. I feel like I'm pretty adapted to that. Like it doesn't. I don't feel like that's going to hurt me too much. It's really the mental side that is just the constant struggle, and you're never going to just like figure it out and then just set it and not have to worry about that again too. It's something that we probably always have to think about. That's been by far the biggest improvement for me, is the mental side of it over the past year or two. Just learning how to not worry about what's going on around me. I've always heard all the cliches, be in the moment, just think about the shot that's right in front of you. Don't think about your score. Don't think about the next hole. Don't think about what so-and-so's shooting. I've always known all that stuff. I've not been good at all at putting it into practice. I've tried, but just my competitive brain is just always paying attention to that stuff. Yeah. I've found ways recently through just mindfulness, meditation, those kind of things of just breathing, learning how to silence a lot of that noise. It's still noisy up in there, but not as bad.
It's a bad neighborhood.
It's real noisy in there.
I was thinking of you don't want to come in here after dark by yourself.
Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. Yeah. Are you afraid of the dark?
I mean,
anybody?
That's the whole thing about golf, though. Disc golf is disc golf, but it's golf. It's the game of golf. And, I mean, obviously, we could speak for hours about the point where the parallels end and begin, but the game of golf, that's why there are books written on the game of golf that have changed people's lives, is because the game of golf is very much a physical, mental, spiritual thing. It's a life style. It's a pursuit. It's something that never ends. You are never a master of golf. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's always somebody that can beat you.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be somebody else that can beat you. You can beat yourself. The course can beat you. And your fellow competitors can beat you. Mm-hmm. It's a very individual, but also socially driven. I mean, there are so many just extremely unique things about golf and disc golf, and it's why golf has been around for hundreds of years and has been known as, a gentleman's game. It's like, this is the gentleman's game for the working man. This is the place where normal people that can't afford to play traditional golf, this is where we can get that same brotherhood, sisterhood, socially driven, athletic, mental, physical, spiritual pursuit. It's where we can make that happen. No, you take it away, Dr.
I was
Roy.
thinking of
I've learned long ago never
on that
to
topic. Playing a hole that you always score well on, like you mentioned, hole 1.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or a course you always play well, and then you mess up and you're like, I never missed the birdie in hole 2 at Seven Oaks when it's in the shortest pin. And then that gets in your head and you can't get it out of your head. And then you're pressing on a hole that's you just got to play easy on. And I think that's one of the things on sometimes with Seven Oaks when, we got the selfie game. What's up? At Seven Oaks, people always say, "Oh, you got to push all the pins." For MCO, you got to push all the pins. You got to play 11 to the baseball field and everything. And then people shoot like a +2 when they're used to shooting like a 5 down on 18 holes at Seven Oaks, because they just think, "Oh, I don't need to practice that. I play that all the time. It's easy." And then they, the first 4, a lot of times you're like, "Oh, I need to be 4 down or 3 down or hit 2." And they miss a couple of those early birdies, and then they're like, oh man, I gotta start scrambling, and then that gets them. And if they could just calm down and say, no, let me just play. But that seems to be a tough thing of like, I always do well in this hole, and then you press. And then
that's I think every single person who has played disc golf and like played a course and then gone back and played that course again. If you had a great shot, if you birdied a certain hole, you're going to pull that same disc right back out, and you're going to try to throw that same shot.
Yep.
That doesn't work. No. I mean, sure, it works sometimes, but how many of us have had that experience of trying to duplicate something? You just absolutely cannot do it.
Well, I mean, like a course like Seven Oaks or Cedar Hill that you play your whole life, and like the most challenging hole, you birdie it for your first time, and you're like, okay, well, I guess I should just birdie that every time from now on. And every time you don't, every time you get a par, then you start beating yourself up for it.
Yeah.
It's like that constant mental.
It's never the same day. The wind is always different.
Right.
The humidity, the
Just,
thoughts in your head. How stressed out were you? Did you sleep very well last night? What kind of little residue was on the side of your disc when you? There's a million variables. You're not going to throw the same shot twice, and that's been one of my biggest mental things too. Is no shot is like a duplicate of another. So I'm approaching each shot as if this is a completely new experience for me. Yeah. Even if it's a routine 18-footer, I've never stood in that same exact place and felt how I feel like in this very moment. You have to treat everything completely brand new. And that's
one shot at a time. It's one of those things that seems like so super cliche, and like when you hear yourself say it to somebody, it sounds like the most retarded crap in the world. Like you're
everybody
like,
knows it.
Oh man, if somebody said that to me, I'd be so pissed. But like the longer you play, like the more you realize that it's truth.
It's all there.
It's one shot at a time, and anything can happen. And you really, though, it boils down to one of two things: either you execute the way you intended, or you learn something. Mm-hmm. And I find that, like, if you can look at it in those terms, where, like, okay, either I'm going to throw the shot that I meant to, or I'm going to learn something new.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to find an opportunity in the shul to learn something that I didn't know before and make it a part of my game.
Yep.
Well, so just in listening, so what about... I really enjoy traveling somewhere as an amateur new to the sport and playing a course blind. A lot of people are like,
that's usually the opposite. I feel that.
Well, I mean, I know, but see,
you don't have your preconceived notions about
the adventure,
right?
Yeah.
And the adventure
rounds.
of meeting all these women, because that's where I try to go is to women's tournaments, and it's just I just like the energy of that tournament.
Yeah,
but it can be scary to go and play the course blind, but you don't have those preconceived expectations,
right? You don't, and that's the whole thing. I think a large part of the mental aspect of golf is expectation management. You know, and so many things, and it's like an input output kind of thing. It's like so many things coming in, like is there a gallery? Is there a camera? All these
I don't worry about those
all
things.
this stuff. There's incoming
I don't have to
data.
worry about that very much either.
yeah, but there's outgoing data too. You know what I mean? It's like this balance of like, what is affecting my mental state right now? Like, and the more that you're able to take stock of it, and I guess it's just the more familiar you can make yourself with the position that you're about to be in ahead of time.
That's it.
It's preparation. It's a thing where and a lot of times if you get any podcast in disc golf, you can go back and listen to interviews with all these players, and they always just say, like, if you give them a free form opportunity to offer a tip, it's like, be prepared for whatever might happen. Mm-hmm. Understand what there is a higher likelihood of happening. Prepare for that more extravagantly than other things, maybe. But like, if there's a chance of rain, have a rain fly for your bag, have a rain jacket, have an umbrella, have extra towels, have hand drying apparatus, have all these things. You know what I mean? It's the same kind of thing. I think people, like, you see these newer players, every freaking thing you could imagine is hanging off their bag.
I've noticed.
They're prepared.
I have noticed.
For World War III. Global invasion from China.
Pulling a cart with $800 worth of frisbees and accessories.
Right.
Exactly.
But you see them on hole 4 at Seven Oaks. They've birdied it 17 times. All of a sudden, they catch one of those first trees and kick back out into the field. They don't know what to do with a 3 on that hole.
Yeah. Then they beat themselves up.
I mean, and then how many of us have been playing that course for years? Always get a 2 on hole 4. That's the one place we always get a 2. You catch one of those early trees, you just let it go a couple degrees off, and it goes into the bushes. I mean, like,
I think my average is 3.8 on that hole.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. It's a mystery.
I usually get a 2, but it's just me. But no, I'm saying, what do you do when what you expect to happen doesn't happen?
Right.
And how does that affect the rest of your round?
That's a hard one.
Because, dude, the scorecard is not about it. The scorecard doesn't give a damn how you played on hole 4.
Right.
The scorecard cares how you played over 18 holes of golf. And if you let hole 4 and the way that you played it in opposition to your expectations, if you let that determine the way you play hole 5, well, you're setting yourself up for a really boring roller coaster that just goes downhill. I mean, but that's golf.
I think that's the touring pro, like the consistency. I mean, that's like people that are 10-15 versus 10-50. Like their bad rounds are still 10-20.
Right.
They're like when they shoot a 10-20, you're like, oh, what happened out there? But those people that are 10-30, 10-40, what's 10-56 is the highest, or 10-60, but that consistency factor, and I'd be interested to see, and like Kevin, how when you go to a new course, if you're playing for a tournament, what's like a practice round? Because I feel like everybody has a little bit different. Some people keep score, some people throw 5 shots and have to throw from all of them.
Yeah. If it's my very first look at it, which I can definitely speak to this because I just had this experience. Played the Hopkinsville Open a week or two. Well, I suppose it was a few weeks ago, but I did go up for some practice rounds early on. My first couple looks at it, I'm not keeping score. I'm throwing a bunch of different lines. I'm throwing a bunch of different speeds and mid-range, putter, driver, looking at the different landing areas. Then if I happen to get a chance to practice it again before the event, doesn't always happen, then I'll go for score. And I'll typically go, I'll play a score round my first shot, and then if I want to keep dialing things in, I'll throw extras. But I've never been concerned with keeping score in casual rounds, really. Yeah. Which is crazy too, because like when I got out of it, smartphones were barely a thing, and now everybody's pulling out UDisc on casual rounds and tracking everything.
It's great.
And I've changed actually this year to not keeping score as frequently.
Yeah.
Because I'm a very detail oriented guy. But
I've been playing disc golf with Dr. Hoy for the last few years. And every time we play, if it's just me and him, if it's me and him and 2 little kids, if it's me and him and 17 old people, it's like he's got UDisc open. He's happen? Like, Will, what's your PDGA number?
Yeah.
All right. What hole is this? What did you get? And
it didn't happen if it's not on UDisc.
Right.
Right.
And then I remember like the first time he didn't do that, and he played lights out. He was having fun. He wasn't looking at his phone. And but here's the thing. Is this is Miyamoto Musashi, Book of Five Rings. Once you understand the way broadly, you see it in all things, and there is a middle way. You know what I mean? There is a middle path. It's the same reason why I am so grateful for my wife, because in every way that I am type A, she's type B. In every way she's type A, I'm type B. It's like there's a middle path that the two of us help ourselves stay on. And it's the same kind of thing with my work wife, Dr. Hoy. And he always jokes around that he has some neurons in my brain and I have some neurons in his brain, but it's
science.
But it's one of those things. It's like there is a balance between being so like centered on the score and following your progress and understanding how you're developing and having an analytical mind about all of those things. There's also a benefit to being freewheeling and shooting from the hip and flying by the seat of your pants and like going by feel. I mean, because that's the whole thing about disc golf is the way you progress is when you have that shot that feels really good and it ends up just like you wanted. Okay, remember that.
Yeah,
remember what you did.
A shot,
replicate it.
You plan it, and it does what you want it to do in the conditions you're in.
But if you're too hung up on the details, if you're too hung up on the feeling, you're never going to find your way to that middle path.
Sometimes I'm on the tee box, and I'll go through the whole thing, and I'm so in my head that I forget that I'm doing a physical activity.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to remind yourself, I'm playing a sport. Yeah. Like when I used to play with Shoestrick a lot, sometimes in our practice rounds, we would make fun of each other, and we never kept score. It was just all kind of razzing and stuff. If we would grip lock one or hit the first tree or something like that, we would have to remind ourselves like, oh, I'm playing a sport. Like so take all. We've got these swing thoughts. You're thinking about the angle. Do I pull my wrist back this much? Is this the right disc? My footwork. All right, I'm looking at this. If you take all of that out sometimes and just think, be athletic. For me and for Will, that a lot of times we could correct our mistakes. Just take all the thoughts away. Take all the mechanics that you're thinking out, and just say, all right, do something athletic.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, something as simple as just one little tweak like that can make a big impact.
Yeah, and it's weird, too, that you can have that moment where you find that tweak, where you and I mean, I can point to countless times it's happened to me where I've watched a video of Ricky, and like recently, I remember watching Ricky's form and seeing how slowly he lines up, and then at the very last second, before he like right when he plants his foot and he's at the apex of his reach back, everything's slow and smooth, just like you hear everybody talk about. But then at the very last second, there's a little extra push into the reach back, and a super powerful explosion. Now, that's the whole thing. Everybody understands that's the principle: slow and smooth, and then one explosive athletic movement. But that last split second at the apex of his reach back is critical. And I remember one day at Ogwood, I had been thinking about watching that last split second of his reach back, right where he's right here, where normally most of us go to pull through. There's an extra little nanosecond where his hand is all the way back. I can't get it in the camera, and then at the very last split second, his hand comes up a little bit more.
I've noticed that too.
There's just a little bit more of like at the very last second, his hand comes up a little bit more, and he really puts his shoulder into his reach back.
Yeah.
And it seems to translate into the rest of his body really locking in to the plane that he's creating.
His body knows what to do. He's done it a million times. He's not thinking about that little hitch.
Right.
Just like Steph Curry, when he catches the ball and he goes up, he's not thinking about his shooting mechanics.
All. Right.
He throws the disc.
He just knocks it down.
He shoots the ball.
He does.
But that's the thing is like watching Ricky do that. One day I was like, I had been thinking about it. So I went out I was out at Ogwood, and I remember I wasn't even like nobody was playing. We were just all standing around on hole 6, and I threw from the tee pad. I just threw a Maverick on hole 6, like I've done hundreds of times. But I was loose. I wasn't thinking about it. There was no score on the line, and I just comfortably, slowly, smoothly walked down the tee pad. And then at the very end of my reach back, I put a little bit more. And where I had been having so much trouble throwing high and hyzering out, that little bit more, for whatever reason, the rest of my body locked in. And I pulled through straight. Proper elevation. So, I mean, but again, 2 weeks later, I'm doing something different wrong. So, I mean, but this is golf. But I'm saying, that's the thing is like those little tweaks, they come and go. I mean, it's such a taxing
There's a
mental
million things to think about, and as soon as you start focusing on footwork,
you fix one
then
thing,
you forget
something
reach
else
back.
is haywire.
Yep.
I mean,
what are you? That's why you got to go to the field. That's why you got to practice in a field and throw your bag a million times. You know, you go to a course, you get 18, 36 drives in. You know, if you're throwing more than one shot, you go to a field, you get hundreds of shots in. That's where the progress is made. And again, that's kind of another cliche. Like everybody says, you know, go to the field, and that's where you really dial it in.
And how many people do it?
Not a lot.
Crickets.
Not a lot.
Now, that begs another question. Over the last few months, as you've your scoring has kind of separated from the rest of the field, and that's got to just feel good for you to be back in that zone.
It's
and
validating. Yeah, it feels really good.
I mean, and we'll talk a little bit more about that too, but are you spending time in the field? Are you spending time at the practice basket? Has that played a significant role in this uptick in your performance?
Yeah. So, I mean, working from home has not hurt that either.
Sure not.
Yay.
You know, I've got the basket right out in the backyard. I try to putt every day. I don't putt every day, but I probably get out there at least 5 or 6 times a week. I would love to go to the field every day. I think now that I'm looking at the calendar, there's some things coming up. Music City's coming up. I do want to be really intentional about doing the field at least like 3 times a week or so. I did it today. Nice. So yeah, I've
watch out, Music City.
Yeah, I'm coming.
You guys are in trouble.
But yeah, that's what moves the needle. That's not gonna help you when you're on hole 1 of the Music City Open and your song's playing and whatever, and there's a bunch of people standing behind you. That's where it all goes in here. That's a different puzzle to solve. But if you've spent the last month in the field and you've gone 100 shot, then the confidence is way up, because you can just, your thought on that first tee can be just, all right, I'm just going to put myself where I'm familiar with. I've been in the field. I'm just going to pretend I'm in the field. Or if I'm stepping up to my putt, I'm just in my backyard. I've done this a million times. If you put in the time, it's not going to solve all those mental things on game day, but it certainly helps with the confidence.
In a broad sense, would you say that it's more beneficial to be in that really super keyed in state where you're analyzing every microscopic portion of your movement, or is it more beneficial to be? Because I know, obviously, like everybody says, you're in your head. Like there's a space where you're overthinking, and there's a space where you're feeling, but you're not thinking about the areas of your routine that you're neglecting, or you're not necessarily doing everything in the same pattern that you have tried to replicate up to that point. Is there anything that you have found useful in maintaining a proper balance there?
You got to keep showing up. I mean, if you're going to play one competitive round a month, it's going to be really hard to get better at the mental side of it. You got to keep showing up. And it doesn't have to be a B tier or an A tier or a sanctioned event. Get out there with your friends and throw $10 on it or whatever. Like, put something on the line, and then you start to get those feels. And if you're doing that week after week, it's gonna naturally get better. You're just gonna be more comfortable with it. So for me, I've been trying to show up to some sort of competitive round at least once a week, whatever that is. It's difficult with kids and stuff. I don't want to spend too much time away just doing this. But yeah, you gotta, if you're gonna overcome those mental hurdles, those feelings of pressure, that's it. Like you gotta put yourself there. For me, that's more important than the field work and the technique and all the little nuances in your swing, because I've been throwing disc since I was 6 years old. I mean, I can lean on that. Not everybody has that luxury. If I didn't, I would probably be practicing mechanics a lot more. Not to say that my mechanics are just like all there. I learned something every single time I throw a disc. But for me, by far the most important thing is showing up for like pressure moments, and getting those feels of being in that moment.
Yeah, not being rattled by it.
I wanted to ask you about the feels of the pro worlds. I know you went out there to Utah.
There's a lot of feels out there.
No, I just like going out there.
Yeah.
Well, number one, saying to yourself, "I'm going out there," where you're just like, I'm doing this. Like, I need to, and then getting out there. What are some things you took away from? I mean, how did you kind of attack that? What was your kind of game plan for the?
Man, I told myself a million times and everyone around me that I'm going into it with no expectations, that kind of thing. And then I got there and I'm just like, I want to do what, I can't, I can say it a million times, but I can't really I can't turn the competitive off. I would love to, but I just can't. That was, so my brother lives in Ogden. He's in the Air Force. He lives on the base. So that's where we stayed. So it worked out really well to where I actually flew my whole family out there. My kids came with me, and they got to spend the whole week with their cousins. So the tournament actually for me was part of that. It wasn't that the World Championships was why we were in Ogden. Okay. Yes, it was a bit. Obviously, it was a big part of it. But so yeah, that was a huge mental challenge. Having sort of started to climb my way up a decade ago and start to cash at some of these bigger events, I did okay at World. I played Kansas City in 2009. I want to say I got 40 something, decent. I felt like, and so I get to Worlds in Ogden and just everything's changed in 10 years. And I had these feelings of just like imposter syndrome. Like, I don't belong here. Over these last 10 years, everybody's learned all these new things. Everybody's gotten so much better. All these new discs have come out. Everybody's got them figured out. And here I am trying to play catch up. That was so in my head out there. And so for me, it was like, it was the mental side out there was really bad, which again, I didn't take that away as I never got angry. I never threw a fit. I never wished that I wasn't there. I'm just trying to soak up as much as I can. Like you said, it's you either do what you intended to do or you learn, and that was a massive amount of learning out there. A little more learning than I wanted, but that's just what it was, you know.
I mean, I think if you're actually learning, it feels like you're learning more than you wanted to.
Yeah. That's definitely how it felt.
I know I have to pee, so I'm going to push the big red button real quick. You guys enjoy some footage of bridge building? On the podcast, the last cast.
Go ahead and set that down on the concrete. Yeah, set it on it, yes. I learned my lesson from this the last time. Whatever I have here, I'm adding an eighth of an inch to it. To make it 35 and 40. Okay. So let me cut that. Alright, I need some help.
Ain't that the truth?
Fun
dude, Big League Chew.
Big League Chew.
I remember being in like not even Little League. I was in like Pee Wee League. And Big League Chew was the stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It was. They should call it Little League Chew because it's the most kids like.
Do you know anybody in the big leagues that's chewing Big League Chew?
Just eating those shreds.
They're on the real stit. They're on the unleaded, dude. They got the.
Did anybody else sometimes eat the shreds just like candy? Like not even chew the gum, just
you
like,
just eat it.
And then
what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I got
you
a problem.
that?
I got a problem. You want some Big League Chew, bro? No.
I
don't have any right now.
I'll chew it. I mean, to me, it says chew on the label. It doesn't say eat. Big League eat.
Well, it happens.
I'm a real rule follower over here.
How much bubble gum?
I have been running for the PDGA board of directors.
How much bubble gum have kids eaten over the years?
Oh my
plenty.
God.
And they
You
sell.
would think you would know something like that.
Did anyone ever? Did you ever hear if we had this choir director at church choir? It was like, if you swallow gum, it'll be in your stomach for 7 years. And I'm like,
I heard that.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I heard
Well,
that.
what happens in 7 years? Do you just shit out a big ass butt plug made of gum?
Make a bubble.
Yeah, you just make a giant bubble. Oh my God!
That's actually how.
Dude, we got to make a cartoon
that's
version of the Last Cash podcast ASAP.
That's how juicy fruit is made.
I need to see somebody shit in a giant bubble ASAP.
Fruit Stripe. You remember, like, lost its flavor after 5 seconds, and then there was there was tear jerkers, which was like the really sour gum, and then there
barely remember that.
There was like the bucket,
Warheads.
Warheads are still the shit. They got a new one. Sorry.
No, this is important. Warheads, Crybabies, Tearjerkers, Atomic Fireballs, Jawbreakers. And you're like, why is this Jawbreaker? Like, like breaking my teeth.
Is that all Little League concession stands? I think it is.
I have it in my mind.
Did we all play Little League Baseball?
MCO.
For sure.
We're going to have some concessions.
Little League
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We were all there.
Common thread.
Shout out, hey, shout out,
good,
shout
man.
out to my little brother, Chris Rarick, who bailed me out one night. I was on the mound. I was really struggling, Little League.
How'd you go from the mound in Little League to getting bailed out?
Well, my brother's on like, I think he was shortstop, and he made some sort of play that ended the inning that I really needed to end.
Oh, okay, so not
nice.
literally getting bailed.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, he bailed.
That was telling.
Bailed me out of
I
a
hear
bad
bailed out,
situation.
I think jail.
You think
They were
negative?
10. They were 12 years old then.
I got arrested once
Yeah.
when I was 12. so.
Oh, boy.
Pretty
Tagging.
harmless.
Well, that's
Tagging.
fun though. I mean, like that's a war story.
And then they had
Yep, never forget.
the little gums that were like 5 cents.
Those are the things that make men
Bazooka.
out of boys
Bazooka
and
Joe.
women
Those
out
moments.
of girls. Are those moments?
Yeah.
You know what I
We
mean?
still talk about it.
yeah.
He still
clearly.
he still holds it over my head.
Yeah. There
Is
are
he-
some people that are jealous that he and I have a podcast that we do for free and spend a lot of money on. That, oh man, those guys are so cool. They're on a podcast.
Wait, who says that?
If you, I mean, all the people that ask you and Jay and Marcus for autographs on the course when they,
Yeah.
like, they don't even know their faces. They hear the voice. They hear Marcus's voice. They're, I know that voice. Are you Marcus Rogers from the Last Cash podcast?
Yeah.
But like,
But does your brother play disc golf?
He does. Yep.
did you force
Sure
him?
does.
He's in Ogden.
Ogden, yep.
Okay.
Yep. And it's funny. So
Was he at the
I'll
Worlds, or-
tell you guys what happened in the final. I finished at Mulligan's. I was not at the fort, and I was not about to drive back over to the fort to watch the final. The part, like, I didn't want to deal with parking and trying to walk through everything. I was just like, I'll just go back to the base.
Yeah.
So we go back to the base. We're 10 minutes away from the fort or whatever it is. And we turn on the live feed up on the TV, and his kids have never seen disc golf. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And it's really sweet. Like, these kids got to watch the Conrad moment live on the TV, and we are all like jumping up and down,
Yeah.
freaking out. Fast forward to now, like, his kids are huge disc golf fans. For my birthday, I want a bag with this and this and this,
Oh.
and so
Yes.
Damn,
because of that
yeah.
moment, because they saw how excited we were watching
That's
that
crazy.
moment.
And
How
isn't
that
that
moment-
interesting? That like nobody ever like obviously like everybody lost their minds about that shot,
Yeah.
but
As they should.
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
you should. But I mean, like think about like for me as a person that's run a shit ton of tournaments and like seen moments like that over and over and over again that nobody ever remembers,
But
nobody
not
ever
like
talks about.
that.
Not like
Not
that. Not in a world
that.
championship. Not with. But I'm saying those moments happen.
Right.
Without the cameras, without the prestige, without all this stuff, that stuff happens all the time. And so to me, and this is probably kind of painting a pretty clear picture of what it means to be an administrator, promoter, tournament director, and to follow that pursuit as opposed to a competitive pursuit. But it's like when you are constantly just running tournaments and you don't really play many and you're just trying to make stuff happen, like you see these miraculous moments all the time. And it becomes like after so many years of it, it becomes this really weird like dichotomy where like you see it, like you see a moment like that with James Conrad at the World Championships. And yeah, it's amazing. It's impossible not to get wrapped up in that emotion and the impact of that. But it's to me, it's like I have seen that shot 50 times at different. I mean, like not 50 times.
I'm disagreeing.
exaggerating.
I'm disagreeing with that. No,
I'm saying I've
that's-
seen a 250-foot throw-in around a tree.
Yeah,
I've seen that maybe not 50 times, but I've seen it multiple times.
Okay,
against the best player in the world.
That's what
playing
I'm
their
saying.
best.
Just not in that
And-
moment.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
trying to take away from Conrad's moment. I'm not trying to take away from the significance of that. I'm just trying to offer a different perspective on what that shot means. Because immediately when it happened, everybody was trying to rank Conrad's shot against Philo's shot against all these other things, and it's like, what is the and I feel like we always try to rank stuff like that and apples and oranges kind of a way. And to me, like, I think it's important to at least mention that the fact that it is, like, the reason it is as significant as it is what Conrad did at Worlds is because it was at Worlds and every camera in disc golf was pointed at him.
Right.
Like, that is what makes that shot.
Every professional in disc golf was making a crazy face. Like,
right. They're
just fans. They're just
but
fans
I'm saying,
at that point. Like, even Macbeth
the
was like,
shot itself is not... I mean, I'm not taking away from Conrad. I'm saying that shot happens all around the world all the time.
Yeah, if Conrad throws that in a week earlier in practice, he goes, "Oh, that was cool."
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then that's all it is.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Is like the shot itself is not special. Where it happened, the set and setting is very important in the place that shot is going to hold in the pantheon of disc golf history.
Yes.
So, and what I'm really getting at is, you know, anything can happen, man. It's like you go from, and the World Championships in 2021, and there's a whole lot of stuff that has not been brought to light, that I'm not allowed to bring to light. But that I know.
Spicy.
Because I was talking to people that were there. And so to see the commentary that developed from that, and like the takeaways that people had from the World Championships, there were so many historic, momentous things and aspects to the 2021 Professional Disc Golf World Championships. It was a record-setting, bar-raising event in every rubric that you could possibly analyze,
including heat.
Including heat, including. I mean, and you know what? Since I don't have to reveal my sources, and I can say this just as an opinion, I can say, and I'm not going to go crazy, Dr. Hoy. Don't get tense. I'm just
ready
saying,
to hit the button.
I'm just saying that the commentary. Reach for the board, mute everything.
Yeah.
Set it all down. Rip the cords out.
We're not even plugged in, guys. We're not recording.
I am going to keep it real, but I'm not going to air out any dirty laundry. I'm too much of a professional for that.
Attaboy.
Oh, come on.
He knows me too well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am going to say some things that some people would probably... I'm just saying, hey, guys, standard disclaimer for this show. Like, I am the TD of the Music City Open. He is also the TD of the Music City Open. But no, like, on this show, the entire purpose of this show is to just talk. And I feel like that is something
Let's chat.
But that's something that people are doing too little of these
I'm chill.
days.
Are you chill?
Like, most of the time, like, people
cool,
don't
bro.
talk to each other. They're talking at each other on social media.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's all sorts of things being discussed, but everybody's just discussing the problem. Nobody's discussing solutions. So I'm just trying to offer this platform as a way for us to say, like, let's lay it all on the table and talk about it. We're not trying to solve the world's problems here. We're not curing cancer. I'm just saying... The World Championships generated a lot of social media commentary, and not all of it, not most of it, was accurate or pointed in the right direction. I'm just going to say that.
I'm wondering really where he's going with this.
I'm not going to... Unfortunately, I can't, like, really divulge everything, but I can say that the way... The blame that was placed... by the majority of people commenting on the World Championships via social media was vastly misdirected at the PDGA. There was a lot of people, and this is, again, man, it's such a hard thing to be a person that runs tournaments and see the commentary that happens on social media about tournaments. Know what... Like, being able, even if it was an event that you weren't at, you don't have any friends that ran the event, don't have any friends that weren't there, you know how it works. You can
We have
kind
a guy
of,
on the inside, though.
yeah. But you see all this stuff, and you just shake your head, and it's like, you know, one, there's so much good happening, and this is what's going to be the takeaway. And that's the really unfortunate part about it, man, is because, like, the warm-up area that the players had at the World Championships before the Brody Smith fiasco, it was the biggest players warm-up area that had ever happened at a PDGA major ever.
Couldn't believe what I was looking at. When I drove up to that there's like a little side area. Almost looks like its own little tiny city park off to the side. They had like, I don't know, 10 baskets out there, like spread out, like all these little trees. Like you could practice all these little shots and angles.
Because this is the way it was described to me, and I wasn't there, but you were.
Yeah.
So 1,000 feet roughly of sections where you could throw 400 feet or so, and baskets.
In like the ball golf teeing area?
Right.
Man, all the controversy from that whole situation came out of the A pool on that first day when I guess part of it wasn't closed. When I got there, I was in the B pool. So when I got there on the next day, I think that was after Brody had done what he did, and there were no ball golfers out there, and we had the whole thing. So I don't know what the situation was.
It was described to me as like a half indoor, half outdoor kind of setup, and they had the outdoor setup for disc golf, and the indoor setup was kind of reserved for ball golfers.
Okay. Didn't they say that like the players could throw into nets, but the players wanted to see their shots fly in practice?
What
or something
I was
like
told
that?
was that was what, I mean, obviously that's what everybody saw being said, but I was told that there was a whole long section of space where it was like sections of 400 feet where you could throw 400 feet into the net that separated the outdoor part from the indoor part.
Yeah. I mean, there were two distinct like driving ranges. We had them both when I got there on the next day.
Well, see, this is what I was... anyway, day one...
Brody called Will.
Yeah, Brody called me. Brody called me up and said, "Will, what would you do?" No, he definitely did not do that. But no, I'm saying that it was a situation where there was more space, more accommodation for a warm-up area for the disc golfers than has ever been allowed at a PDGA major ever. Mm-hmm. But it was a part of a facility that was kind of awkwardly split between indoor and outdoor. And on day one, there were nets, there were baskets, there was sections roped off. And Brody shows up, happened to be talking to somebody that worked for the golf course, asked, "Hey, what would it take to get that other side also reserved as, I don't know, $1,000? Here's $1,000. Okay, cool." He makes a post. And I think, honestly, Brody probably made the post just to say, "Hey, you guys, if you don't feel like throwing only over here, we now have this over here."
Not to try to spark up a fire.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think Brody is the evil Jedi Master of this one. And
also, it gets him like he has a brand. He wants attention on his brand.
Absolutely.
It's a great way to do that.
It's a good move.
Yeah.
It's a good PR move.
Yeah.
But then, like the PDGA, to their knowledge, it was never a problem. It was never a need. So when they found out that all this was going on, that he had made this post and paid $1,000, they were like, "We had no idea that was even something that would be of value." So they talked to the staff. They realized they said, "What would it take for us to just take the whole facility for the rest of the week?" Arranged it all, went back to Brody after the fact and said, "Hey, we'd love to give you back your $1,000 because we've reserved this for the rest of the week." And then for the rest of the week, nobody used the other half of that facility.
And Brody probably flexed on him with not taking the $1,000.
I'm not going to speak.
Ball out.
I mean, look at you throwing hot takes. But I'm not going to speak to what Brody's intentions were. I'm not going to speak to any of that. But I'm saying, like, what you guys are seeing on social media is not 100% of what's actually happening.
It never is.
Get out of here.
And 99% of you that are commenting and offering your opinion on this have never even played in a national tour event or a pro tour event and have never run a tournament. So there's a lot going on that you don't know. But I will also say that, dude, everybody that was involved in the World Championship in any large-scale disc golf competitive event, all of us are disc golfers first. We're human beings first. Disc golfers second. Dude, like all of us, nobody sets out to take... Oh, yeah. We were talking about some stuff off the air that kind of contradicts what I was about to say, but nobody's setting out to rob anybody. But no, I mean, like, honestly, 99% of people that are in operation in disc golf behind the scenes, behind the table, like, dude, we're in it for the good of disc golf. We're in it for the good of everybody.
Right.
We want the big picture overall bird's eye view to be great for everybody. We want everybody to succeed. And so it's like to even look for a place to place blame for things that you see that are problems, like that's just contributing to the problem. That's not contributing to the solution. That makes you a part of the problem.
Okay.
Be better.
But look at the amount of people now discussing disc golf. Like a lot of the world's like inspiring, kids to start playing it, and there's a lot of discussion around it. So there's like a little bit of controversy. I know you don't want controversy in your tournaments, but it does spark a major discussion because I know there's also controversy about the painting of the bunkers. I don't know if you.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah,
very clearly.
Did they catch you the paint lines or any?
I was so solidly OB when I went out of bounds. I was never.
No question.
There was no gray area.
I know where the line is at.
It's all good. I'll just throw it right in the middle of the bunker.
Yeah. But I know that was things, and people always talk about course design no matter what. And a lot of times it's people that are not playing up to their abilities or, they're not playing as well as they would like, and then they get frustrated. But some of that, I mean, to me, it actually tells me that in disc golf, there's a bigger following. It's growing because there's people that are like, the comments are back and forth. Should we do this? Should we do that? Like, it's not just like, well, let's do it all the same way. And so we have a lot of new people that are, doing a lot of different things. And like you were saying, like there's so many new discs, and then everybody's got all these new skills of like, I mean, think about forehand distance on.
That was one of the first things I noticed.
How many people on, when Ken Climo was winning all his like USDGCs and Pro World titles, like how many were throwing a forehand 400 feet drives?
Scott.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Stokely. And there were some others, but they were all, and the disc styles and just
totally different. Yeah.
You can throw a slower disc, the same.
Well, and this is an important thing is that we're talking about it.
Right.
I think the cultural, societal atmosphere kind of culture is funneling us in a direction where nobody's willing to talk. Like, that's why you see on social media, it's immediately like a bipolar reaction. It's like binary. It's like dissolve the PDGA, or you know what I mean. Like nobody's willing to actually talk about what happened.
I feel like some of the comments too. Like I was watching the Ledgestone live, and some people were like, "Man, I pay $4 a month for this, and this is the worst coverage." And I'm like, dude, this only costs $5 a month. Like, this is awesome, man.
Repeat what you just said. Like, say that again out loud one more time. Like, $4. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. You're paying for it. You hope for a certain standard.
But
this sport is...
It is so much better. Like, it's wait 5 minutes. Hey, kid commenting out there, wait 5 minutes, and then you'll see, oh, this is really changing rapidly, and it's already a lot better. And that's the thing, like the Worlds, they were at the Worlds commenting. They had huge commentary teams, 3 people for each division. And the courses, I mean, what they cover now, they can cut to so many different cards. Used to, it was like, all right, we got one guy on a card. It's we're following him. And, when the cameras, they get to that guy, it's like, oh, I guess I'm playing well. It's like, don't check the scorecards. But then
totally shocked.
Disc
Never
Golf
been on
Network
camera.
comes up, and you're all of a sudden, all right, we got a camera on us. One of us is playing well. And the coverage now is just, but it's funny that it's still like, if you look at the comments, especially on YouTube, because it's free on Sundays, it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they can't have the first half of this course because it's like
it's unbelievable.
Bad cell reception. Like, well, yeah, they would have to charge $40 a month to get a satellite truck. I mean, they probably would still not get a satellite truck out there, but that's the only way to get.
When I was a teenager and I wanted to watch disc golf content, I went to whatever random website, bought a DVD. I have disc golf DVDs.
Class DVD.
Billy Crump.
I have them, and it's like all like kind of thrown together by just some dude, and it's like it's nothing. It's not even a fraction of what. I could pull this thing up right now and immediately have anything.
And
I
people
want to
are
see.
like, oh man, I've been waiting so many hours for this next day drop from Jomez for the Worlds, man. I can't believe it. I don't even know what has happened yet. It's like,
It's not a real problem.
all right,
it's not a real problem.
Yeah. And spoiler alerts. Don't get us started here on.
Oh, dude,
Oh.
we've gone
Spoiler
off
alerts.
on it, man. It's like
But,
this whole
yeah,
thing.
it's-
It's like a spoiler. I could get it if it's like a TV show, like Walking Dead or something like that. But dude, this is an actual
You're right,
event
yeah.
that
Yeah.
happened in
Yeah.
real life. It already took place. There are no spoilers, dude.
Yep. Yep.
But I think that speaks to the good of disc golf is that we have this controversy. We have discussions about spoilers. We have people complaining about fast internet speeds and like how much disc golf you can. I mean, you can't even keep up with everything that's dropping. If you're,
No, you
used to
can't.
you could subscribe to every disc golf media company. And you're like, all right, I'm caught up for the week. I'm
Well, that's
done
one
with
of
all
the
my
reasons
videos.
for having a podcast.
And
is
now
like,
it's like I can't even keep up with yesterday's action. The Pro Worlds would drop like 12 videos every day, and I'm like, I can't.
like most of the time on the podcast, man, I'm trying to get people in here, and I'm like, throughout the course of an episode, I'm offering two different opposing opinions. I'm contradicting myself. I'm just like honestly stoked that there are people talking about this stuff, like actually talking about it, like not just complaining about it on social media and making a post and sharing a headline that says, "Oh, World Championships worst ever," and all this stuff. It's like, no, let's actually sit down and have a conversation about it and like get ideas about it on the
More
table.
money. I mean, I know people joke around a lot about Bushnell because right when it came out, then everybody's like, I got the Bushnell hat. And it's like, this is the Bushnell breakdown. Because, at first you got to really, there's one, but I mean, that company does sport hunting scopes and, golf range finders. And
Right.
the fact that they have a disc golf range finder. I mean, can you imagine?
I would never have
Never,
guessed that.
ever.
Like that is the disc golf rangefinder. If you go on their website now, they have like a speaker that tells
Yeah.
you the distance, and it's a Bluetooth speaker. And it's other people are getting into the game of like there's new private disc golf courses coming up, and they're charging $20 to play or like $100 for the year, and people are paying it. They're going out there,
And they will.
it's- Yeah, and the van life. I mean, how many
That's-
crazy customized vans are
That's
there?
interesting too, man. We've been running the Music City Open for years, and it's always like this weird tightrope to walk of like how much to charge for stuff. Like what's the supply, what's the demand, like
Because it's always changing.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then like now, with Music City Open, like we're lowballing everybody. We're like $20 spectator badge all week.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like most events are charging us per day.
yeah, and a
spectator
parking
badge.
fee.
And a parking fee.
Like
we're not doing any of
Ledgestone-
that.
Ledgestone parking is like
but
$50.
It's we're covering our bases by having different ways for people to be a part of the event, and we also don't want to make our first appearance on the pro circuit to exclude anybody from our community. You know what I mean? We want
Yeah.
to make it.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that everybody that's been a part of bringing it here gets an ease of access kind of way to be a part of it. So
Yeah. I love it. I can't believe it. When I was playing Music City Open, I think it was a B tier.
Last year,
I
or
think.
you're saying when you
Well,
started
back when I was like really
it was
in
a B
it.
tier
Yeah.
historically.
Um, And now for it to be what it is, it's so cool to have something like that in your hometown.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And there's going to be coverage. I
Yeah.
don't know, Cedar Hill, the signal out there. No, I'm just got
Yeah.
him.
Northwoods.
Yeah.
No, I
Cedar
mean
Hill Black.
that's the whole thing. Is we're trying to stay up to the trends and plan for Cedar Hill and Mill Ridge in ways that are appropriate for both media and spectators and all that stuff. And we're trying to also, I mean, with Mill Ridge, we're trying to bridge the gap between that argument of golf course versus woods. You know what I mean? We want something that's open, long, gives a chance to see the full flight of a disc, but it's also tech. So
Elevation.
yeah, elevation, really unique tree placement. I mean, Sean Sinclair really knocked it out of the park with the design, and
Yep.
over the next month or so, you'll be able
Can't
to get
wait.
out there and get a look at it.
Can't wait to see it. It's pretty close to the house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yay.
I'm excited.
Let's see now that we have each other's phone numbers, we'll communicate. Next time I get out there, I'll
Hit
holler
me
at
up,
you.
man.
You can come out there and
Because actually, we had one event. It was funny because we had this event. It's in March of 2019. Or, no, March. Yeah. 2020. 29.
somewhere in there.
And
It's funny how COVID makes everything like run together.
COVID was just hitting us 2020.
Yeah, it was 2020. We had one in April, at the end of April, beginning of May.
End of March.
Right at the end of March, beginning of April.
I had one of those like big hand sanitizer things, and we had them out there.
A whole dispenser.
And somebody's like, "So do you think this COVID thing, like, it's gonna last a while?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been hearing reports, but I can't say it's gonna last that long. A lot of these viruses, they may burn out quickly, but we're gonna learn more information."
Yeah.
And everybody was like, not shaking hands or shaking hands because information's coming in, and then it's like, no, I'm gonna shake your hand, man. They're not gonna tell me what's in it. There was already people that were but Benel,
I want to shake your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah,
you look uncomfortable.
Benel
I'm gonna hug you now.
We had the layout of the FPO layout, and Benel took it down. Like for the
He's
pro.
the FPO champ for sure.
He's gonna hear you say
Oh boy!
I'm gonna do like Frolf Center. I'm gonna cut a clip of just what you just said right now, and I'm gonna send it to him specifically.
Perfect.
Yeah. So he's like, we're gonna try to get some test events out there, but I can't wait. Like everybody because you look at a map, overhead map, and you're like, you can't tell it, but it's got elevation and stuff. And we also got a couple new pin placements at Cedar Hill. Hole 1. It's a new. So
What?
Sounds like a good. Yeah,
hole
I've heard
hole
about it.
4, hole 6. Oh yeah,
Hole 6.
New pin. Yeah,
position?
it's all happening. It's a brand new. It's still the Billy and Company, Billy Fowler and Company.
I love that
Billy
place.
MF Fowler.
Yeah.
I love that place. I always
Yeah.
always have loved that track. It's always been
It's-
one of my favorites.
That's one of those that you think you're doing well, and then like a hole that you're like, oh yeah, I usually do okay on this hole, and then it can be like hole 17. Hey, I throw the same thing, throw a little hyzer down to that same pin position. And you're like, turn it over. It's in the woods. Now I'm trying to throw a forehand roller. I'm taking a 5. It's like at any time strike, but
It's always
that's
there.
this golf, man.
That's the fun part of it.
Anything can happen. You can't have an epic scramble without a shitty drive.
That's what I tell myself.
That's what I always say.
That's
And
what
I
I
don't
tell
mark
you.
it down in U-disc off the fairway after 1.
Try map scoring. Screw you.
Yeah, I'm working on my scramble rate right now. Because now in bag tags you can, on U-disc, if you're in a league and you keep the full scoring, like there's people out there marking all like novice marking all their shots. And it's like this. Yeah, it could take a while.
I wasn't used to that at all. That at Worlds, that was funny. Some of the scorekeepers were like asking you about your last putt, and I'm like,
Why?
why are you asking me?
Yeah.
Why are you asking me if that was in circle 2 or circle
None of
1?
your business.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
just kidding.
Turns out,
What does that even mean?
their track,
They're tracking you.
circle 2.
What are you talking
What is
about?
that?
Circle 3, baby.
I mean, I was in the circle all day. What are you talking about?
Direct hit.
Well, Kevin, what's the next event you're signed up for?
Good question. Oh, Knoxville. There's a BT. What do they call that? I think it's a 1
The
day.
smoky.
He doesn't.
It's not this weekend, but the next. It's on the
He's
21st.
like, I'm signed up for all of them.
I you know what? I usually just sign up for Justin Bonnell shoots me because that's another thing. Like when I was playing disc golf, you show up on Saturday morning, you hand him your money,
Oh yeah.
and you're in. Now
You
Justin
OG.
Justin sends me the text all the time. He's like, "Dude, you better get on this and sign up for this thing." So I'm basically playing what he tells me I should be signing up for at this
It's
point.
really interesting how this worked out because yesterday, right before I got in an accident,
Dope.
I was over here recording commentary for round 2 of Seven Oaks Summer Solstice with Justin Bonnell. And
full circle.
yeah, everything is big circle. So,
Got some circles right there.
Circle?
hey, oh, you know what we didn't do, and we
Him
got
and
it.
Yan. Him and Yan.
East
Him
Nashville
and
Beer
Yan.
Works.
Him and Yan.
So,
Circle.
Go of life.
what I was gonna say was, Kevin, it's dope that you're back in the ring, man.
I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so stoked for what you guys are doing. It's so different from what it was, and it's exciting.
I am gonna hold up this real quick
Get
because
some.
East Nashville Beer Works is our newest partner for Music City Open, and you're gonna see more information coming from that. But there was a whole thing with Justin Bennell. I'll never.
He texts him to say sign up.
Signing up for tournaments.
You were doing commentary.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
we
gone.
recorded 20 minutes of a podcast after we got done doing commentary, and then we had a catastrophic technical difficulty. So I've got 20 minutes of a dope podcast that you guys are going to get to see because I'm going to include a part of it on the tail end of this episode, and then we're going to include a maybe slightly altered part of it on the beginning of the next episode because next episode, episode 45, next Monday, we got Justin Bennell locked in on his return trip from Idlewild.
Oh, sweet.
He is leaving,
Yeah.
Are you going?
if not today, tomorrow, to go to Idlewild. So we're going to have Justin Bennell in the studio doing it. And so we're going to talk about some things before we get off the air. But when we get off the air, we're going to do like another break, and you guys are going to see the first 20 minutes of the ill-fated Justin Bennell episode 44 that happened. But East Nashville Beer Works, and I got this. So East Nashville Beer Works has been reaching out to all the wrong people for months, and they finally managed to get a hold of me.
No, actually, Ruth.
I was talking shit. It's Ruth, Dr. Hoy.
Don't try it, buddy.
Ruth, Dr. Hoy, Jay, everybody was spoken to. Anyway, today we went over to the brewery, and I don't know if any of you have seen this, but this is the
They better have.
Grip
Sweet.
and Rip IPA from East Nashville Beer Works. This is a disc golf beer
I can't even
in
snap.
Nashville. Golf snaps
Okay.
are demanded. I'm holding the can. I only do one of those. But anyway,
can, man.
so this is pretty dope, but extra dope is this is the last known can of Grip and Rip IPA in existence.
Last can podcast.
Shotgun that thing.
Unfortunately, I can't do that on the show, but I am going to crack it, and I am going to pass it. I'm going to give it a sniff. I'm going to say, it smells like an IPA. And I'm going to give it to Dr. Hoy, and I'm going to let him pass around samples of East Nashville Beer Works
And I'm going to even try it, and I don't.
Grip and Rip IPA.
Really?
Yeah.
This is going to be the official beer vendor of the 2021 Music City Open presented by
Thank you.
Dynamic Discs. East Nashville Beer Works. Where are they at? Ruthie, tell everybody what you got a thing
In East Nashville.
in East Nashville.
Down there on
Should I put it?
Trinity Lane.
I'm going to put it in my Google.
Trinity
answer.
Lane, dude.
Trinity Lane. That's
Yeah.
that's
Good,
enough.
good pizza, too.
Raise a toast to disc golf.
Yes.
I'm gonna.
Come on.
Oh, I'll have some.
Cheers, mate. Cheers.
I got some coffee waiting.
Cheers. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, you guys.
Oh, I thought. Sorry.
Will's turning his life around.
That's good coffee.
Oh, that's.
And I'm not.
No,
I like it. Yeah.
you're on the other way.
but
in the opposite direction.
Oh, man.
It's good. It's an IPA.
It's beer. Sorry.
It's got a disc golf basket on it.
Ruthie.
I know. I'm
Ruthie's
sorry.
official beer review.
Did you ever, when you were playing disc golf, at I guess part one,
Part one. Yeah.
games and apps? Like I don't know if you've gotten into Disc Golf Valley or any of these. Like
Do I have to admit that I have gotten into the... Okay.
I was just thinking, like
I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up and make
I
a
saw-
RIP.
I saw that.
look like meme.
Bye-bye.
Like
I saw
have.
the basket on there, and
you'll
then
never
somehow
It does
get
look like
another
it.
one.
kind of look like Disc Golf Valley, and I'm like, I mean, it's crazy how the video games of disc golf
Which I
Disc
have
Golf
never,
Valley.
ever played.
I had
No.
I will say I had extremely low expectations. I would say I downloaded Disc Golf Valley like a month ago. I don't know what made me do it. It was kind of random. And
Your phone
I
made
They
love-
had a
I
whole
love it.
virtual GBO through that
I
thing
love it.
last year.
yeah, exactly.
I kind of hate that I love it, but it's
Yeah.
like I can't put it down.
No,
Dude, I'm going to send you a link.
They got it.
There's a dude, Joshua Johnson from Tree Industries, that's got a high-end disc golf video game available through Steam. I'm gonna send you the link to the episode so you can watch it.
I will check that
He like
out.
has a company that does like AI.
It should
And,
be
Oh, sweet.
out or
it's out.
but I meant like it's on like
I don't think it's on any
PS5
consoles or anything, but you can get it on Steam for sure. You've been able to get it on Steam
Well, I
for a
meant-
while.
yeah, I remember
Ultimate Disc Golf.
I remember that it was he was coming out on a computer. Or he was working out some kinks on it, but that
Well,
was
no, they were
several
basically
months ago.
trying. They had it it was in beta testing, but they were trying to develop it for consoles. But it's available for PC on Steam, so you can play it right now.
Sweet.
And there are Last Cash podcast feather flags. There is a Last Cash podcast bucket hat that you can unlock for your character.
Whoa.
Oh, in
Funny
the
how
video
craziest
game.
stuff.
Yeah, in the game.
You can unlock a bucket hat.
Did you think this was
get you
real
that.
life?
Well, I'm expecting
Ruth, you've been on here-
MCBG flat feather banners coming to my house.
She had one sip of beer and she just
Yep.
totally gave up on
Gone off
reality.
the
This is your
rails.
5th time on the podcast. You've unlocked a bucket hat. When PDJ made a video, these 70 plus divisions
saw
can
this.
putt better than you.
I saw this.
And Ken Folger, he would like hit a putt. He's like, yeah.
Yep.
See. And shout out to Dr. Rick Vokes. He took down the 70 plus. He's on the PDJ medical committee, and he can still throw 980s, 985s.
Yep. I did get a screen cap of that video. I might as well go.
Nicely. Oh, man, go.
Go ahead and include
He,
that. Rick.
I think he has a Dr. Rick Starship, which is like some disc from Innova that he aced a hole with, like his own disc. So
Baller.
he's good.
I played with Dr. Rick a lot in Bowling Green.
Oh, dude.
He had this like Dr. Rick T-bird, and I don't know what it was. I showed up at the course. It was my birthday, and he found out it was my birthday, so he gives me his signature T-bird and
Oh,
signs it.
man.
He's like 5-time world champion at that time.
He
I'm
just
like,
keeps adding them on.
wow, this guy's won a bunch of world titles. That was cool.
Yeah, no, that guy's
Golf snaps for Dr. Rick
Dr.
Yep.
Rick. Shout out
and Sylvia
Hey, Rick.
and Sylvia.
for the Vokes. Man, Kevin, to wrap it up, I'm super stoked that you're back, and I can't wait to hang out with you and Ketley more. And I'm honored that you're signing up for our events. I mean, I'm super stoked about that. I think that is a testament to our community here in Nashville. Like, we got staying power, man. Like, we're a family.
Yeah,
And we always will be.
I feel it. Yep. I feel
it's
it.
awesome.
Welcome back.
Thanks, guys.
It's
is
awesome to
awesome.
have you back. So, ladies and gentlemen, catch Kevin Rarick out there on the course. Hopefully not an MPO mopping the field up with your face.
Yeah, 16 down.
Yeah, 16 down at Sanders Ferry. Go
that good?
try that on for size, losers. Move up.
Is that good?
Move up.
Hashtag move up.
Is that good?
That's it for tonight, guys. Have a great night. We'll catch you for episode 40,
Peace.
whatever, next week, sometime. Joining me, my very special guest, a good friend of mine, Justin Minette.
Hello.
I'm all by myself. Man, golf snaps are even less impressive when there's only
When
one
it's a
person
single,
doing it.
yeah.
It's a cool hashtag, though, for sure. So Justin and I just got done with the ill-fated commentary for the 2021 Seven Oaks Summer Solstice presented by Dynamic Discs. Some of you might remember it. Some of you might be wondering what the heck is going on, because we took a swing at this a while back. We had Jeff Casalina and Marcus in here to do commentary. We had a nice little blooper reel that made it onto the podcast from that one, and
I need to see that.
yeah, the blooper reel it made it into the break for the podcast, so it was hilarious. I can show it to you. But that we recorded all that commentary and then did a podcast with Jeff. Thankfully, the podcast was great. But in a mad dash to make space on my laptop during the podcast with Stone because we recorded for about an hour and everything went away. And I was like, what the heck happened? Didn't have enough space to save it because the original raw videos of the solstice, each one was like 15, 20 gigs.
Oh, wow.
And I had told myself I needed to move them onto the external hard drive so that they weren't taking out space on the computer. And of course, I never did that.
Right, of course.
So then in my mad dash to delete all the extra garbage that I just had on the computer, because there was like 8, 9, 10 failed takes from that round one commentary with Jeff and Marcus. And that's what I used to make the blooper reel. Mm-hmm. And so I was trying to delete all those. Actually deleted the actual commentary itself. So,
well, that's awesome for me.
Yeah. So you guys at home probably noticed that over the weekend we got the round one coverage of the 2021 solstice up, and me and Dr. Hoyd did the commentary for that. Justin and I just finished up doing commentary for round two,
which was my first time.
Justin's first time doing. Dude, I have seen several people do commentary for their first time. You did much better than most people for their first time.
Awesome.
Genuinely.
I was curious.
Yeah, it was. You did very well. And it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs and jokes.
Yep.
I mean, that's really always what you're hoping for.
You're just trying to have a good time.
Yeah, it's just a good time. It's like disc golf.
Throw some information out there.
Right. So, I'm sure a lot of the people around here that are watching are very familiar with you and have seen you out on the course many times. For those of the audience who have no idea who you are, I know your PDGA number is 20827.
Correct.
So clearly you have been about that life for quite some time.
Yes.
But for the audience, tell everybody how disc golf found you, where'd you grow up, how long you been playing, that kind of thing.
So I grew up in Oskaloosa, Iowa, and I had a buddy I was hanging out at the time named TJ Latcham. He played, and his uncle, Jim Brennan, also played, and he played tournaments, and I don't know if he was master's age by that time, but they play competitively, and I'm a competitive person, so he took me out one time, and my very first shot, just like everybody else, goes up and to the left about 50 feet, and I seen him throw one like 200 feet to the basket, and I was hooked. I was like, you're not always gonna beat me, dude. I'm gonna eventually beat you. So that's how I started, and that was like in maybe 90, 98, 99, something like that. And by 2001, I had won my first pro tournament. I believe it was the Ottumwa Fall Classic, which was the state championships that year. I beat Mark Ramsey. I think we might have went into a playoff as well, but that was in 2001. So then I played pro for a few years and then moved to St. Louis in 2004 to work for Gateway to Sports, and I was also a sponsored player at the time and worked there for about 12 or 13 years, traveling around, playing tournaments on the weekend and coming back and working the shop during the week. Took some time off, and actually last year, I probably had at least a 5-6 year hiatus from playing competitively. It might have been longer than that, but last year I got back into it. Just before COVID, actually. So COVID allowed some time to get on the course.
Thanks, COVID.
Yeah, right. I actually, another story to go along with that, I got into competitive bass fishing, and I had a bass boat, and I actually sold it because I knew that I was going to dive in hard, and I don't want to be looking in my driveway and see my bass boat looking all nice and fresh, and it's not getting any action, so I had to sell her.
So was bass fishing, did that have something to do with the 5-6 year hiatus, or what was going on there? Was that an injury? Was that burnout? Because working in disc golf can, no matter what your role or what capacity.
A balance. Yeah. I needed a balance. So, my whole life was disc golf for a long time, playing tournaments, coming back, working in the shop, doing it all over again every single week. And I needed a balance in which I got into bowling, back into bowling actually, because I grew up wanting to be a pro bowler. Mm-hmm. I loved it to death. My whole family bowled. Worked in a bowling alley as my first job, that sort of thing. But got into disc golf, and I found early that like bowling and disc golf twice a year would conflict with each other.
Yeah.
Like in the spring and the fall, I'd either have to decide to go to a bowling tournament or a disc golf tournament. And the only way to be the best at either one was to only do one. I couldn't do them both. And so I chose to go with the disc golf route and did that for a long time. But so when I decided not to do disc golf as much, I got back into bowling in St. Louis, which is a huge bowling town.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my. It's crazy. The Webbers.
All over the Midwest.
Yes.
I mean, and something that you touched on, I think that is interesting to comment on, just a brief aside, is that accuracy sports.
Yeah.
There tends to be a thing with people in accuracy sports. Like if you were ever into darts or bowling or anything like that, like disc golf is something that you can pick up on pretty easily.
And something about bowling, too, that I've brought with me to disc golf is adjustments. Right. In bowling, you're moving one or two boards here with your feet and a couple boards with your eyes to try to hone in on right where you want to throw it. In disc golf, I do the same thing with where I start on the tee, my stroke, if I'm open or a little closed. During the round, I make a lot of adjustments if I'm not throwing it like I want to.
Yeah.
So that's been a big benefit.
Yeah.
But so I got back into bowling and met a buddy that was kind of into fishing a little bit, and I had a passion of fishing when I was a kid, and I hadn't fished for a long time. Fished a few times at his mom's place, and I was hooked. And I still have passion for bass fishing. I mean, it's nothing like it. When you're trying to hunt down a 5-pounder and you get one on, there's nothing like the rush of getting it into the boat. So I did that for a while. Did that competitively for a while as well. Won a couple tournaments, got into the Missouri State bass team. I don't know what year it was, but I did that. So then I moved down here, kind of didn't do anything for a while, and I seen all the coverage on YouTube for disc golf. Like, I hadn't watched anything or got on YouTube at all, and then all of a sudden I see all this coverage for disc golf on YouTube, and it just lit my fire. On one hand, I was like, man, I just missed the boat, right? Yeah. Just missed the boat for all this. And then on the other hand, I was like, you know what? I could maybe get back out, train a little bit, because I never trained. I strictly was going off of natural ability, and that's my own fault or whatever. But so I was like, you know what? Get out there, train, develop a putt that's consistent, and see what happens. And so here we are.
It kind of seems like, were you actively trying to like keep some separation from disc golf for a while there?
No.
Okay.
Just wasn't. I didn't have the passion for it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, because I think the next stage in that natural progression is burnout, where you're like, right. I am done. Sean, our mutual friend Sean Sinclair went through that at one point. And I think anybody that operates in a behind the table kind of capacity in golf for a long period of time can get to that point. But so now, you're feeling like you're motivated to give it another go. What brought about the move to Nashville? Just out of curiosity.
I got into the after I worked at Gateway, I went and worked in the doors, frame, and hardware industry.
Okay.
And I eventually got a job where I worked remotely for a company in Nashville, and they gave me an incentive to move down here. So
okay,
I made the move.
Yeah, Nashville's got everything going on these days.
And I'll tell you what, it's been awesome on the disc golf scene. Nashville's got it going on, man. Something every night of the week. People like to actually play for money. You don't find that everywhere.
Yeah, and we somehow, and I think that this is another rare thing and unique thing about Nashville, is that we maintain that balance of like a high level of competition and camaraderie. Mm-hmm. Like our community is really tight knit, and I know that has been something that a lot of people that moved to town have been really grateful for, because it's just really easy for them to get plugged in. And
there's a lot of places where it's just like this club, that club, that club, and they're not like all trying to like work together, where Nashville's definitely different.
Well, it wasn't always that way.
Right.
It was definitely, there was the scenario was very similar to other places where each course kind of had its own club.
Right.
And everybody kind of did their own thing. That was the whole mission of Music City Disc Golf when it was founded in 2012, was to bring everybody together. Everybody in the Nashville area worked towards the common goal of not only playing together, but working together to make our courses better and get new ones.
Right.
And it's a marked change in the development of the Nashville disc golf area when that happened, when everybody started pooling money together, new courses started popping up. Baskets started getting replaced, and events started getting bigger. More events started happening. More people started running events. But it's a delicate and very cultivated thing. You have to have the right team in place that, and the right vision. And I definitely credit, Nashville's always had visionaries, the Flying Disc Drive, Ken Folger, Steve Hardy, too many names to name, but Barry Gill, David Eiler, Joel Rogers, and everybody that came before us. But then when we had and I think that the advent of social media really played a part in it. I think that's when everybody kind of started drawing lines in the sand, and things got a little hostile. Nobody wanted to kind of hang out, but the original board of Music City Disc Golf and specifically Alan Posey, that was what their whole goal was, to bring us all together. But now you've been here. I know, when you showed up, we became fast friends. I know that it was immediately you weren't around, and then you were around and playing. And I forget who it was that kind of told me about a little bit of your background, mainly with
Sean,
Gateway and stuff. Probably Sean.
Yeah.
But you're one of the fam now.
Yeah. I feel like it. I'll tell you what, the love and support that I've got this time around has been, it's been awesome. It really has. People that I haven't talked to in a long, long time, I'll post something on Facebook about winning a tournament or something like that, and they're just over the moon, glad to see you playing again, can't wait to see you on coverage and all kinds of stuff like that. And so it's been great. It really has. It's surprising, to be honest. Yeah, we
look out for each other here, man. And it's been a pleasure to have you around, and I think another great thing is that you are adding to this, because we've got a lot of really good golfers in Nashville, but you, man, since you decided to make this comeback, so you it was right at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, when you really started playing and signing up for stuff. And then of course COVID happened, so everything shut down for a few months.
Right.
We came back in June, and you've been on a tear, and you were pulling in top fives, and you were getting some wins, and now you're coming off of three back-to-back B tiers that you've won.
Yep.
So when did you start? Obviously you're all in now, and you're looking at going around and getting on the road some more. How did the sponsorship with Prodigy come about, and how has that been for you?
They reached out to me, actually.
Yeah.
Saying that they had some people requesting or saying that you should get this guy or whatever. I think Shoestrick probably had something to do with that, but I played with Shoestrick at USDGC, and going down the stretch, I think I had him by 1 or 2. Had a good round going. Mm-hmm. And I think it might have been the Coliseum hole, or maybe the next hole after that. I just blew up.
Yeah.
But he ended up shooting 9 under that round. So, I was actually playing very well, and I hadn't seen him in a long time, so he probably had something to do with it. But they reached out to me, and which was very new to me, because I had only been sponsored by Gateway before that as a disc manufacturer. And so that whole dynamic of getting a contract and negotiating things and that sort of stuff was very new and fun, right? Because I'd never gone through that before. And it's been great. They've been very supportive and posting things and paying bonuses the day after it happens. And it's been awesome.
That's great, man. And I know that Prodigy has been really outward thinking in sponsorship in the Southeast. And it's got to be good to have your manufacturer that sponsors you headquartered in the same region of the country as you. That's got to be making.
Yeah, my first allotment, I actually went down to the warehouse and got a bunch of discs. So.
And Sarah did too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think whatever else that you want to say about Prodigy, the one thing that is universally true about them is that they have always pushed the limit and raised the bar in terms of taking care of their players,
which is
their
great.
Sponsored players.
Yeah, it feels great.
The move that they made in 2012, 2013, that revolutionized sponsorship in the sport across the board.
Yeah.
Everything that we see now, you could very, very arguably, you could attribute the $10 million endorsement of Paul Macbeth directly to Prodigy disc.
Right. I would agree.
What they have done has had a huge impact in the sport and the height that we have been able to reach now. So What's your next move? I mean, know that 3 B tiers back to back. You've got to be kind of looking at some Pro Tour stops and stuff. I know you're getting ready to head out to Idlewild.
Yep, next weekend's Idlewild, and I've always loved Idlewild. Like I played Idlewild back in I think the first time might have been 05, 06 or something like that, and then I won consecutive year A tiers at Idlewild after that. So I've got a lot of history there. The fairways are forgiving now compared to what they were back then, but I just feel at home there because it's tight golf. You got to throw good hyzer flip up to move, a little right to all kinds of shots like that. And it's technical, and which is what I like to do. Not that I can't play wide open courses, but I mean, you can throw it anywhere,
Yeah.
I want to be able to throw my shot where I want to, pick my spot, and be rewarded for it.
Let's take a minute to kind of talk about that. How do you feel about that? That kind of seems to be a real difference in schools of thought among the movers and shakers in disc golf. Because obviously now there's a natural, and I don't think a lot of players really understand this logistically, but there's, a lot of the disc golf that we've been seeing in coverage and stuff like that is playing on golf facilities now.
Yeah.
And there's been a whole bunch of commentary on social media about whether we should continue to play on these golf facilities or whether we should make a return to the woods. And now that tournaments have gotten so big and you've got thousands of spectators, right, and you've got a ton of needs for media because a lot of these events have 5, 6, 7 media companies providing coverage of them.
Yeah.
That's the golf facilities, they have the parking, they have the amenities, the ancillary stuff that you need to have for that kind of a scale of event. How do you feel about all that?
I think it just needs to evolve a little bit more and get we just need more practice at it, right?
Yeah.
We need to get some courses that are not ball golf type feel, getting more throwing lines, throwing dog legs in there. Not that you can just boom 600 feet and you're all good. It's got to be a little bit more placement type stuff, right? But being on a ball golf course, you can have all kinds of spectators and the media and all that. So we just need to work on making it better. It looks great on camera, but for the players, same old thing, throwing as hard as you can and skip up to the left or whatever, and then throw an upshot and make a putt. I mean, it needs to be a little bit tougher than that.
I think that, and this kind of seems like a natural place to end up for this conversation, but I think this is going to be the next big thing that money starts going into in the sport is disc golf specific facilities that can accommodate championship targets and the foot traffic of large scale events. Mm-hmm. And my mind immediately goes to disc golf park.
Yeah.
I always get them mixed up, Dave and Steve Broad. I think Dave Broad is the one that lives here and Steve Broad is the one that works with disc golf park. But close ties to Discmania, and that was one of UC's visions too, was designing and building entire facilities dedicated to disc golf that you could actually run something like this. And they've been having great success, and they've been putting in a lot of new parks. It also makes me think of Mill Ridge, where we're going to have the finals for MCO this year.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a big open space, and it does have media opportunities and stuff like that. You can actually see the full flight of a disc, but it plays technical.
Oh yeah.
The elevation, the way the trees that are there kind of jut into the fairway, the way Sean is designed around all that stuff, you've really got a big, long technical course.
Yeah, for sure. We played it last year, a little test event before COVID. And I don't remember what it is. I shot something in the 50s, but I won by a lot. And I think it was like 1040 rated or something like that. But it was tough. Like, I had to make some good shots to play what I played. And if there's any tweaks to that, it can only go up from there.
Yeah, and there have been some changes since we played the test event. Namely, we had 2 holes that probably required 90% of the work that we put into the course back in the corner that played in the woods, holes 6 and 7. And since we've put in all the work out there, that has actually, those 2 holes have been pulled because I guess the Mill Ridge property in Metro Parks had an arborist or somebody that came through and said that area should be left alone and not have any foot traffic on it just because of stuff that's growing there and ecology, stuff I don't understand. Big words.
Don't go back there.
Yeah, don't go back there, especially since now that we cleared it out, there's a bunch of homeless people living back there. But no, the 2 holes that we got kind of subbed in for those that Sean has put in way better, in my opinion. I mean, they're great holes. I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Have you seen the coverage on Eagles, or not Eagles, but Simon's vlog of a skins match they did a couple weeks ago?
Probably not yet. No.
So it was the first B tier of the 3 that I've won at this place called Eagles Crossing in Missouri.
Okay.
And this guy took this piece of property and made it into the hardest course to score that I've ever played. I shot 2 or 3 under for the tournament. Okay. Course par 2 or 3 under, and I beat Presnell by like 3. So I was the only one under par for the tournament. And I'm telling you, this place it looks awesome. Once you see the skins coverage, I think GK Pro did the skins coverage. It's exactly what you're talking about. They thought about where the crowds were going to be. The owner of the property, Phil, that's what he wanted. He wanted Dave McCormick came out and designed the course, and Phil has put in like hundreds of thousands of dollars for tiered landscaped greens and all kinds of mowed fairways, and it's pretty epic.
Yeah.
It really is the best course I've probably played.
I think that's probably a pretty good indicator of what's going on here with my computer. I don't know what that's an indicator of. Hopefully this is still recording because nothing is responding to me.
That is.
Let the bass kick.